Hey everybody, welcome to Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I have a crazy echo in here. I am in my new home because this podcast can afford me a house. Woo! There's a crazy echo in here. I hope that's okay. So I am joined here with the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast crew. We have Jordan.
I don't trust any one of you.
All right. We have Clinton Westover, first time guest.
Hey, hey!
Oh, that's great. We are excited to talk to you about John Carpenter's The Thing, directed by John Carpenter. It is a remake of a much older film, black and white, and it came out in 1982. Jordan has the quick recap.
Oh, I do not. Sorry, give me a second.
We are well prepared.
It was like an alien. I don't know.
Yeah, let's do a quick summary.
Right. A research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victims.
Sounds exciting.
Well, yeah, I'll
I need
say.
to get a soundboard. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to keep doing all. Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. I should sound more annoying. Hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast.
You could dye your hair purple too.
Yes, because honestly, purple hair dye comes through the audio. It really does. Like you can sense it when you're listening to a podcast and you're like, I bet this guy has purple hair right now. Woo! There's like an echo down here. Okay, I'm in a basement and it is not finished. So this podcast better keep making me money so I can finish my house. We are going to go around and talk about two of our what was it like watching this movie for the first time and what was it like rewatching it for this podcast. I'll start. I watched The Thing. Jordan, you sat me down and you're like, hey, you want to watch a good scary movie? And you were right. I don't remember when I saw it. I think it was in Park City or in St. George, Utah.
It was St. George.
St. George, and you're just like, watch this little movie with me. And then you're like, it's got Kurt Russell in it, and it's got a really scary monster. And I'm like, ooh, I love scary movies with monsters. And boy, did it deliver. This movie scared me. Like, it was unsettling. Most of the time when you see the creature, you kind of get bored of it. Like, I don't want to throw shade at Jaws, but like once you see the shark, you're on a downhill. But like every time you see this creature, you're on the tip of your toes. It's very unsettling, very unnerving. And so I watched it again last night, and holy cow, it still scared me just as much the first time I watched it. In fact, I think this one caught me unawares because I forgot of the few jump scares that there are. So I actually got scareder this time watching, and I jumped and threw the iPad off my lap when I watched this again last night. It was more enjoyable the second time because I thought I was prepared. But this movie catches you unaware if you haven't seen it for a while. I've seen it twice, and I absolutely love this movie. It's even better on rewatch. Jordan, what was it like watching this movie for the first... Oh, and my star rating real quick, I'd give it this is like a solid 9.5 out of 10. I mean, it's weird because I almost say like this movie could use an update, but it really doesn't. It's like it's just a gem. That's why it's on this podcast. So I'd say, yeah, like a solid 9.5 out of 10. Jordan.
First time I saw this, I was introduced to it by watching a parody on YouTube. I had originally seen the remake, which is actually technically a prequel to the movie, which it's not great, but I do want to shout out to that movie because the director who made it, he did really try his hardest to make it a legit prequel to it. Like he studied the entire film of the original down to the T. I won't get too much into that film, but I do have mad respect for that director for trying his best. It was the studio that said when they saw the creature, because he actually used practical effects, that they said, no, it's not scary enough. We want this to be CGI, and they ruined it. So gotta love those studios, right?
They ruined it! They ruined my movie!
Going back to the movie, yes, I love it. Have seen it many times. Before I watched it again for this podcast, I watched it on a date. Great date movie. She actually stuck around, believe it or not.
Hey, did she call you back?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. I was going to say, and you never heard from her again.
She's a keeper. Anyways, I love this film. 10 out of 10. It's a classic. Great. One of my favorite John Carpenter movies, next to Big Trouble in Little China. Some of the best beautiful practical effects. We'll get more into that. Just very cool visually. I just kept thinking of like King Kong while I was watching it. Just some amazing practical effects.
Great. Clinton, what was it like watching this movie the first time, and what was it like rewatching it for this podcast?
So, the first time I watched it, I was by myself. My wife and kids were out of town. I was like, what's a super weird movie that they definitely would not want to watch? And I was like, The Thing! It's perfect! And so I watched it, and I'm in the middle of it. My wife calls me, and she asks me what I'm watching, and I tell her, and she's like, would I like it? And I'm like, actually, yes! This movie's amazing! It's like scary, it's suspenseful, it's funny, it's got Kurt Russell, it has everything. So I really loved it the first time I watched it. Yeah, I love the practical effects, like you were saying, Jordan. And when they're doing that autopsy scene, I do autopsies, and I was telling Alex, I was thinking, they're so lucky they get to do autopsies on an alien. That would be so cool.
Oh, big brag here. Clinton here is a doctor. We have a doctor in the house.
Yeah. Sorry, when I was in medical school,
horn.
we learned a lot about autopsies.
I didn't know doctors had time to watch The Thing.
So I loved it, and when I watched it again, I watched it with Alex, and she did love it. So yeah, it's just an all-around good time, and just watching it and being like, they don't explain a lot of things, but who cares? This is awesome.
That's excellent. Yeah, I've got to say, this is a movie that benefits from being vague. And by vague, I don't mean like at all a negative way. It's very a positive. Bless this movie for leaving a little to the imagination. You don't know its whole backstory, but you just know like this thing just wants to get its tentacles into every bit of living creature it can, and it's just so great because it just is a force to be reckoned with. It's so great. This movie just...
And like, why are they in Antarctica? What research are they doing? Like, why does he say, grab the flamethrower? Why do they have a flamethrower? Why do they have so many guns? There are so many unanswered questions.
Hey, they're only just a few hours away from the Norwegians, or Scandinavian. He kept calling them Swedish, and he's like, it's Norwegian, it's Swedish, yeah. Get these guys from Norway, Sweden. Oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah, they're all just sharing the piece of the pie of that frozen ice and digging up aliens. It's crazy.
Well, I love that they don't...
Oh,
can I just say really quick? I love that they throw you right into it. He doesn't sit there and start from the beginning. It's already partway into the film where they're shooting a dog or chasing down a dog. And I just love that. You're thrown right into this thing halfway into the situation, but they're uncovering everything as you are uncovering it as well, which is just really fun and thrilling.
Yeah, like all the Norwegians and all that stuff being burned up and all the people killing themselves. It's like, I see a lot of foreshadowing of things to come in this movie. It's going to get pretty crazy in here.
And in fact, well, that's what's so great, because every horror movie has like what I call the library scene, where they go and uncover some truth. They either go to a library, do some research, found a kid that fell down the well, or they found a family that murdered themselves, like they always have that scene. This one is literally like more like the crime scene. I love that. I think more films should do that, where there's like a very terrifying unearthed crime scene or like the catastrophe where the creature or whatever has struck, and then they go back there and they see its carnage. That's much more horrifying because it builds this creature up. You see, like when they find the one burned they look into the burned remains of like what appears to be human / unearthly, right? And they're like, hey, I think whatever was there, they burned it in a hurry, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like it gives you such a big sense of foreboding. You were just like, oh, don't go in there, or don't do that, just get away. It's so good because you feel that panic, and their research was going to the crime scene and seeing the damage that it's done. You're not just learning about it in some dumb library. This is the previous crime scene, and this is what's going to happen, and it's a foreshadowing of what's going to happen to you. It's so good. Not enough movies do that, and kudos to John Carpenter for getting such a great setup. Like from the get-go, you're learning about it, and you're seeing the horrific things that it's already done. Yeah, just excellent.
Thank you for mentioning that. Ty, that's crazy you said that, because this time watching it, for some reason I didn't, maybe it's because I'm doing it for this podcast, I was thinking about that the entire time as I was watching it. I'm like, this is a crime story thriller, because they're really going through each step to trying to figure out what it is that's happening. It reminds me a lot of The Hangover, kind of figuring out what happened the day before, how did this all start? Like they're unearthing this, and I love it.
I walked into this movie not knowing anything like what it was about. And so you have a lot of questions. You're like, did the Norwegians go crazy and kill themselves? Is there a virus? well, why are they shooting at the dog? Is the dog evil? What's going on? I have zero clue what's going to happen. And then you're seeing all these people who've killed themselves. They burn down the place, and you're like, I don't know what's happening right now, but this is suspenseful.
Oh, it's so good. We're going to go around and just say two of our favorite things about this movie. Just the two biggest things that stand out to you. I think I'll start. One thing, this movie really benefits from some of my favorite horror movie moments where the reactions match how you feel as an audience for seeing this the first time. My favorite is the critter kind of like morphs into like a spider head, and you just see the guy looking out the window as it crawls through the doorway, and he's just like, you gotta be freaking kidding. Like, it's such a great reaction. It's so good, it's so believable, and it's so grounded. And that's exactly how you would expect someone to react. Sometimes it's always overreacted, sometimes it's underreacted, like you're like, everyone's just totally cool with everything. They are just in disbelief and shock even. So that's one of my favorite things. And also, the way they treated it. My favorite was when the big guy that touches the dog at the beginning, like he pets the dog. I can't remember his name. He's the big grizzly guy with the beard. I wish I could remember everyone's names. He has this line too where the critter's inside the dog kennel and it's like freaking out. And then he's like, dude, what is it? I don't know, but there's something in there and it looks pissed, whatever it is. It's weird and it's pissed off. If more people reacted that way to monster movies, I think a lot less deaths would happen as a result. But what's so great about it is everyone reacted so well. Like you said, Clinton, they had flamethrowers, they had guns for an army, like a small militia. This thing still was getting the better of them because of the shape-shifting, the changing nature of the critter. Oh, it's so good, man. So yeah, those are probably my two favorite things. The way everyone's reacting, and then the effects, they still hold up because everyone's reacting to real puppetry. These horrific creatures were actually built on set, and they used gross things like mayonnaise and explosives to get real gross spurting effects and everything. It's just so nasty. This movie just is such a gross movie, and I praise it for being so gross. Jordan, let's hear two of your favorite things.
Oh man, you totally took mine. I totally love their reactions to everything. It makes it so much more real and believable. But I'll say two different things, and obviously the practical effects are amazing. Probably the best of any film I've ever seen. John Carpenter's amazing that way. I guess I'll have to say then the score. I love the music, just that dum-dum. Dum-dum. That sound, it's so good. John Carpenter's a master at both the music and his cinematography.
Real quick, I just want to add, like, it reminds me of Jaws, in fact. Whenever the music's playing, the creature's near.
Yeah.
And so they played it a few times where one time it almost takes the view of what you think might be the monster. It's just wandering through this Arctic base. Whose eyesight am I following? Is this the thing? Like, am I the thing? It morphs all the time, so sometimes you don't know if it's present, but you hear it and you see everyone. But there's a really cool thing I'll add after, Jordan, you say your second thing. I just wanted to throw that in. It reminds me of Jaws, like the creature's near, and the music plays to let you know it's near, and you like kind of perk up and you're like, oh, like where is it? You're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. The score, and then the second one would be, there's two, but I'll just pick one so I don't take them all from Clinton. The one-liners, dude, are amazing. At the very opening scene when he's playing against that computer, and then she wins the chess game, which it is impossible if you've ever played chess against the computer on Apple, the little chess games. It always wins. Even if you take hints, it'll put you in a stalemate. After it beats him, he's like cheating B, and he like pours his drink into the computer and it breaks. I just love every line in the movie is amazing. I love it.
A bit of an overreaction, right? He just destroyed one of the 3 computers they probably have up there. Clinton, how about you, man? Two of your favorite things from the movie.
You guys talked about practical effects, and that's obviously the best thing about this movie, but I'll talk about 2 other things. I thought it was hilarious how the guy is using the computer program that's like showing what's happening and the cells are taking over and then projecting how it's gonna take over the world.
Yeah.
And it's like this like DOS computer program. This was back in the day when nobody understood how computers worked. They're just like, I don't know, it just spits out information. I don't get it.
It's gonna tell you this is gonna take over the world. Wait, what? Like, how do you know that? This is an alien. You don't know anything. Were you programmed to know what the thing was? Here's the other thing too. When I saw those graphics and those textile green words, pixelated words come up, thankfully John Carpenter probably was forced into using practical effects, because if that was their CGI, we need to do practical effects.
Well, but I love though that he doesn't spew out exposition. He does it through that computer. I think he's a master at the craft. I don't think he never sits around and says, we need to explain things to people why this is so intense. He shows it on a computer, and yes, they didn't understand computers and how they worked, but I'd rather have that than somebody sit and spew exposition all over you.
That's true, because with the computer, only one guy really knew about it. He starts freaking out and starts blowing up all the computers and destroying everything, shooting it and saying that everybody needs to die so no one can get out. That was cool that he was the only one who knew, and it was because the computer told him.
Yeah, the computer told me to do it. Yeah, so you killed us all because the computer told you that 27 million or 27,000 would die, or 27 million, or whatever it was.
My second one, I thought the ending was solid. You don't know if the other guy was an alien or not. You have no idea.
Yes, Clinton, that segues into my first question. The ending. Who is the thing? Who is it? Are they both the thing? Is Kurt Russell the thing? Is Childs the thing? Who is it?
Here's the thing.
The thing. Pun intended.
It doesn't matter, because they're both going to freeze to death and end up in the snow, just like the thing was at the beginning.
Okay, but there's actual theories, though, about... Me and Ty looked up different theories and things that it could mean. Check this out. I know we're diving right into the end, but that's fine if we want to do that.
Let's do it. Let's freaking unpack this. Kurt Russell and Childs are facing each other, and you don't know which one of them is infected, because all this just happened. The whole base is blown up, and they're sitting across from each other, and they're both pretty winded and tired, and we don't necessarily get the full answer of who is infected or not, right? Like, there's some ambiguity, and the movie ends, and it kind of ends ambiguous. So anyway, just to preface what we're talking about here. Go ahead, Jordan.
Everyone else is dead. This creature's infected all the other people. They're all dead. There's 2 left, and you don't know if McCready or this other guy is the thing. My money is on the other guy, the possibility of him being the thing. Clinton did bring up a good point. It doesn't matter. They're both going to die. However, because McCready, he was very set on even taking his own life and killing everyone there, and the reason being is because if they do freeze, the creature can still come back once they find it. Once it unthaws, it can attack everybody and infect everybody. So McCready, I think, was about to commit suicide because just a minute ago, he was throwing cocktails and blowing everything up, and that same cocktail that he was about to throw, he was ready to drink it and kill himself, didn't realize the other guy was still alive, so when the other guy shows up, he turns and looks at him, he hands him the drink, and then the guy, just as he takes a drink, Kurt Russell starts to laugh.
Yes, he chuckles, right? And mind you, when he hands him the drink, the music plays.
Yeah, the music starts.
The dum-dum. And so Childs takes a swig and Kurt Russell laughs. Now, I have 2 things about this, okay? Jordan, we can unpack all of this right now, dude. I love the idea of Kurt Russell not being the thing, but I actually think Kurt Russell might be the thing.
I agree with that.
In an interview, John Carpenter years later confirmed that one of the 2 people is the thing, is infected. Because there's also the possibility that both of them aren't.
Yeah.
Evidence is that Kurt Russell is the thing. Earlier in the movie, you had, I can't remember, was it the chef? It was the chef on the roller skates.
Yeah.
He brings in McCready's outfit that's torn to shreds, and he says, I found this before McCready saw me and hid it away. It's McCready's outfit, and it's all destroyed and holy and cut up. That signifies that.
I do have something to say about that, because the people I watched it with said, they brought up the point, it's just very odd, though, that they didn't get rid of the name on the shirt, because the other shirt they found, they ripped off the name of it. So either McCready's really stupid and didn't do it, or he was framed. I think he was framed.
Well, isn't he the first? Because you could argue that McCready was the first to go through the change, because they didn't know about the clothes when he changed, but then later on they found the other outfits, right?
Didn't he test his blood, though? I thought...
They did test the blood. However, we don't necessarily know who really got to the blood or who messed it up, right? Because someone came in and sabotaged the whole thing.
We never saw McCready cut his finger. You never actually see him do it.
We never did.
So you don't know if it's his blood.
Exactly, we never do.
What?
Clinton's like, what the heck is these guys talking about?
It's true.
And that's why it's great. Childs, he says, this is a crock of shiz. Let me tell you what I already know. And he shows everyone that his blood is fine. There's a clear scene where the chef comes in and tells McCready, we should start preparing our own drinks and our own meals because this virus or this creature can get in via, we don't know. It's very contagious. It can infect one of us. He says we should start preparing our own meals. He tells McCready that. And McCready hears this, right? A bit of information. Later in the film, he offers him the drink. Now, mind you, we don't see him actually press his lips to it, but the scene where he hands Childs the drink and then he drinks from it, he could have got him right there.
Oh, that's why he laughed.
And then McCready chuckles because he just won. He just infected the last guy right then and there. And it's freaky when you think about it that way because, again, McCready, the whole time, he's manipulating everybody. He's the leader of the group, trying to get everyone to turn on each other. He shoots 2 of the people that were totally innocent. And again, Childs points it out that makes you a murderer.
Well, but he did it in self-defense.
True, but it would be a perfect callback, and that's why I think it's a perfect horror movie, because I think Kurt Russell is the Thing. When he chuckles, he could have just infected him right there and there, because it would be a perfect callback to when the cook told him we need to start preparing our own meals, because that never came into effect in the whole movie, but it would right then and there, and that ultimate last scene.
I wonder how he knew. Like, did the computer tell him that?
I think it was the doc. He's like, it takes the form, right? He could tell by its genetic DNA, I guess. I don't know. Like, it answered it in the ambiguity of the movie. Reasons for Childs being the Thing shows up, and he's wearing a new jacket. Now, that is a fact, which suggests that he shed his clothes and turned into the Thing. Also, it's really weird that he was waiting in the base with the flamethrower while the other three went to go get the doctor who had tied the noose up. And then that guy was digging a tunnel and building a spaceship. And then when they go to try to find him, he's already gone. And you see someone leave the space camp and walk out and then kill the generator. And I think that was Childs. When Childs shows up, the argument, like you said, Jordan, is that those Molotov cocktails were made with kerosene. It wasn't even alcohol. Kurt Russell was about to drink it, maybe to commit suicide, because he's the last one there. They blew up the whole base, and just as he's about to drink it, he gets startled by Childs' presence. And then he turns around and he goes, "You're alive," and then everyone's dead. And he goes, "Well, not everyone." He's like, "You're clearly here." He assumed that everyone would be killed, but Childs is sitting right there in front of him. So he offers him the drink, and Childs drinks it. Now, the argument is that the Thing doesn't know what alcohol is or what food is. He handed it to him, assuming he was supposed to drink it. He puts it to his lips, drinks it, and then Kurt Russell could be chuckling because it's kerosene. It's not even alcohol. He would spew it out, and Childs would have been like, "Oh, what the heck is this?" He drinks it, and he doesn't react. And then Kurt Russell could have verified that he knew that Childs was infected. But you know what's so perfect about this film? Both arguments work. They really do. It's really not foolproof. Either one could be, and that's why I think this is a horror film. I think it's perfect.
There was even some people that theorized, if you look very closely, I don't know if this is going too deep, but is it Charles or Child? How do you say his name?
Child, like plural children, like Childs.
Childs.
It's weird. It's Childs.
When they're talking to each other, you can't see any steam coming out of his mouth. But after a while, after they start talking, he notices that Kurt Russell is breathing really heavily, and he's like, "Oh," and then he starts to imitate it, then he starts to breathe heavily. I don't know, it's just a theory.
That is interesting. Oh, I like that. That's kind of fun, too.
For me, just watching it, it seems like Childs is the more obvious thing. He's the one running off by himself.
No, but to the Thing's credit, this alien is a masterclass, man. He destroyed that entire Norwegian base, and he was escaping as a dog, and then it led it right to the other people, and the Thing just wants to survive. If it's a perfect horror movie, I think it could be Kurt Russell. I want it not to be, because he's my favorite, and like he has the best line where he chucks the dynamite and he says, "Yeah, F you too," and blows it up to smithereens. It's so freaking good. He's my hero. I want to be like Kurt Russell. Let's put it to a vote. Who do you honestly believe it is? My vote is McCready. I think Kurt Russell is the Thing at the end. I want Childs to be the monster, but I think Kurt Russell is ultimately the Thing.
It's definitely Childs.
It's Childs for Jordan. What about you, Clinton?
It's Childs.
No!
It's just the more obvious choice. Like, I'm with you. It could be McCready, but Childs is off by himself while they're killing the aliens. I don't know. Just Childs seems more likely.
It's true. It does seem more likely, but I love the theory that you can almost work and believe. I would almost say it's 50-50 for me. It really is. Like the first time I saw it, I'm like, "Oh, Childs is sitting there and he's evil." But then I thought about it and I heard about all these theories, and I'm like, years later, people are still theorizing and talking about new evidences. They're talking about breathing. They're talking about the drink. They're talking about the meaning, the music. One last thing I want to throw in a piece of trivia. If you guys watch this film for the first time, look for the light in their eyes. One of the set directors, I don't know if it was a proper lighting or someone on set, the characters that have lights in their eyes, he had a certain light so it would shine. And then for characters that were the Thing, their eyes were darkened. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding.
No, I believe that.
There's a clear evidence of this. There's a clear evidence of it when they're tied up to the couch. The one character, I can't even remember his name. He's the one that his head splits open and he goes up to the ceiling, right? He's tied up in the chair. When they test his blood, you see him, his eyes are like darkened, like they're shadowed. Now, Kurt Russell's eyes, for his credit, do shine a lot in the movie. If you're going to go off that theory, Kurt Russell is less likely and it is Childs. But I thought that was a fun piece of trivia that they intentionally tried to light their eyes. Watch for it. It's a fun detail because you'll notice some characters have darkened eyes in certain scenes and it gives you the chills because you're like, oh, because it cuts away and you see them just standing there and their eyes are darkened and you start getting paranoid. Oh, was that light? Was that a shine? I can't tell if there was brightness in their eyes or not. It's so freaky. Makes you not trust people, man.
I'm glad you brought that up because honestly, Ty, that's what I thought. I'm like, I wonder if this is a director's choice because I noticed this time viewing it, this reminds me of The Godfather when they kind of blacked out their eyes. It wasn't quite as intense, but you could definitely tell. I was trying to figure out, okay, when does this person get infected? When do we get cutaways and not see when the dog is first there? How many people could he have infected? And the reason we're kind of against, both me and Clinton are against you on McCready being it is because he's killing all the creatures and the creatures usually working together.
No. Not working together. There's evidence that these creatures want to survive and they will do anything to survive. I think there's evidence of this. What was it? There has to be something. Like when he eats, when he infects, because you rarely see two critters at the same time. For example, I think that it when it was turning into the dog, it was infecting, it's hard, dude. Like, I'm so tired, I can't even think about it, but like, it is possible that there was multiple creatures, right? Because it does separate itself and becomes its own living entity, and it shapeshifts and has to become like a different creature. So it is possible that there was just the one alien and it's always morphed into different things. But I've heard the theory that if it gets burned, it breaks off a part of itself and becomes a new entity. For example, the dog scene, the hands reach up and some spider thing crawls up out of the ceiling.
Maybe a hand went
up. And
up.
then there's clearly a freaky looking dog critter that still remains. It can separate itself. And once it's done that, it's doing it to survive initially, but then all bets are off. If it's already assimilated and it looks like a human, talks like a human, it doesn't have need for any other creature. It just wants to be the one that survives and just keep thriving. It just gives me the creeps to think that someone that was in control the whole time, Kurt Russell, wanted to blow up the whole base, and he's the one controlling all the explosions, and then it's all blown up, and then it will freeze, and it will wait in peace for the next person to come along so he can get his freaking tentacles inside its cheeks and smash his face in, or whatever he did to that one guy. Oh, that's so gross. Woo! Dude, this movie is a ride. Who wins? Who loses? You guys bumped me with Childs. You say it's Childs. I say it's McCready. Because I'm the host tonight, I win. My vote counts as 3. You guys lose.
No, 2 out of 1. You lose. Sorry.
Does anyone have any least favorite things about this movie?
No.
Like, I like what you mentioned, Clinton, about like, why do they have all these guns? Why are they in Antarctica? Like, what do they do there? Do they have they have computers? Why do they have all these computers? What are they studying?
Why not is the real question, Clinton.
If you can, do it.
Try and stop them. They're out in the middle of nowhere. I thought they probably could have used some female presence in the movie. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Boo. No.
They did that in the prequel. There's a girl in it. It's the girl from Scott Pilgrim.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she's awesome. Honestly, I think you're right, Clinton. Like, I almost feel like if they had a few females, it might have changed the tension maybe a little bit more. These are all men, and they are all just cutthroat.
Yeah.
Like, eventually, they all kind of turn survival.
You can kill another man to survive, but are you going to shoot like a woman and a little baby? And they could have added all these other kinds of characters.
And maybe that was John Carpenter's thinking. He is already making a movie that has to run up against E.T., the extraterrestrial, in theaters when this came out in 1982. So he had to run against a friendly family alien movie, and he had to kill everyone, and the alien had to lose with a really depressing ending. I already can't add women and children in this, because if I start shooting women and children's faces in with guns and burning them alive, I just think it would have been too much. Maybe not.
I know, because you walk away from this movie saying that was fun and kind of lighthearted, as opposed to, like a mass killing of women and children. Yeah, that might be a little too heavy. I think you're right.
I'm trying to give him some credit. You're right. I actually don't know why women should be qualified to do that job, and I'm sure there are, but I think it's just less likely. If we had this thing in, I don't know, what's a field that has a lot of women, you know?
An oil rig.
Another example of a lot of men. I'm just trying to think, if this took place, I don't want to be sexist here. What's a job? There's a home care, healthcare.
Marine biology.
Yeah, it takes place in a marine biologist lab or something. I don't know. I don't care who's in it. People can't already stomach this movie. If I had like a woman or a child shot in the face, I don't think back in 1982 they would have been okay with that. The other things I was going to mention is I love the puppeteering. It's so brilliant. Instead of doing what else I don't like about this film, I wanted to ask you guys, what is the most horrifying creature or segment for you in this movie? Because one of my favorite things that was said about this film, the reason it is so effective years later, is because you never ultimately see one final version of the thing. It constantly changes. Every time you see it, it has a new grotesque tentacle, a slimy, dripping, puffy face. It has teeth. It has opening proboscis with just open teeth, like a Venus flytrap. It looks terrifying every time you see it. Did you guys have a particular creature or transformation that really scared you?
The spider head.
The spider head? Yeah, dude, when that head comes off of that body, oh my word, that is unbelievable. Just elongates his neck. And then when he sets it on fire, Oh, Clinton, how about you, man? Did you have like one favorite?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say Spiderhead. I don't know. When you think of the Thing, you just think of the Spiderhead. That's what comes to your mind, you know?
I'm not gonna lie, for me, it isn't the spider head. No, I do think of it, but the one is the freaking stomach mouth. When he goes in for the defibrillator, he says clear, he throws his hands down through his chest, and it opens to this gaping wide hole that's its mouth, and it just tears off the guy's arms. That was the scariest thing I had ever seen. Oh, and the creature right after that, right? So his stomach's open, it opens up, tentacles and mayonnaise comes spraying out, and then this discombobulated floating head, that's the Thing. That thing terrifies me.
Oh, you know what? You know that scene where that guy who was shot is by himself and the other guy walks in and it's like wrapped around his neck and like coming out of his mouth? That part was pretty crazy.
And he's like covered in jelly.
Yeah, it's like jelly and there's tentacles just slowly around him. And it almost looks peaceful. You're like, how did it get him? Like, because he's just sitting there in a chair and he's just like calm as day, right? He's like in a coma. It's just so freaky to think that's how it gets to you, man. Oh, you're right. That is eerie too, because it's more the subtlety for sure.
And then he disappears. You know, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then he's gone, right? And then you see him again. Well, he's almost transformed, but he's running outside. He's almost human, but then his hands are like terrifying tentacles. They're so freaky. That was the last thing I'm going to mention too, is the sounds. The sounds that the Thing makes are always different. Sometimes you hear mice squeaking when the blood is on the ground and it crawls away. The blood is moving. So eerie when they do the blood test, and the freaking that jump scare when they are testing the blood. I thought you'd say that. I'm going to do you last. And then he touches the petri dish with the heated tip and the monster pops out of the blood. That freaked me out so bad.
That got Alex. She jumped so high next to me when that monster popped
my word.
out.
That is such a great scare. The intensity of that scene, the character that's the Thing, when they test his blood, he just starts quivering and shaking. His head opens up. It's just so terrifying. That is my second most memorable scene. And then the two guys are tied to the chair next to him and he's flopping around. He flies up to the ceiling. He comes back down, eats the guy's head with his Venus flytrap head. Those are my three. I know I can't even narrow it down. Oh, I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it, dude. It's freaking me out. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. Movies that are similar to this, I don't know. John Carpenter has a very distinct style. I would say like movies like The Fog kind of have a similar tone to it. This one is not a slow burn.
No.
It's so unique. It's like E.T., I guess. It came out the same weekend. It's just not a friendly alien.
It's nowhere near as good, but I was thinking of Swamp Things.
Swamp Thing. I love it. Swamp Thing.
Where they have the cheesy practical effects and they have this monster and they have the story that's kind of unclear why it is the way it is, but it works somehow. Yeah, Swamp Things doesn't even touch this movie, but that's the only movie I could think of that's vaguely similar.
Jordan, you've seen John Carpenter's films. Do you have any that remind you of the Thing, or is there any movie that you could say it's similar to this?
Well, all his films have his style to it, which is like jam-packed, beautiful practical effects and also amazing music. His cinematography, I just want to mention, is really fun too. Ty mentioned, not only does it immerse you into it, but there's moments you don't know if the camera is the view from the Thing. There's a couple moments where the camera as an audience member, because they ask him a question, what are we going to do next? They're using a dolly and they're pushing in on him. It's almost like you're that person. I want to know, what are we going to do next? And so you're like moving in on the guy. Tell us what to do here.
I think the most like this film would be John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China, because there's unexplainable monsters in Big Trouble in Little China that remind me, starring Kurt Russell, so maybe that's why it reminds me so much of it. There's also like a creature with a bunch of eyeballs, like a discombobulated head. There's like a creepy monster that shows up at the end on Jack Burton's truck. There's definitely some callbacks to Big Trouble in Little China. It's probably the film this is most like, but it's not campy like Big Trouble in Little China, which we love. I love camp. We're gonna say favorite quotes or segments. Did anyone have any favorite lines from this movie?
I love when he's talking to the entire group right after they burn that guy with the arms. I know I'm not the Thing. If you were all the Thing, then you would just attack me right now, which means some of you are human still. Eventually it'll take us over one by one until there's none of us left. And I'm just like, oh, this is so good.
It's a great scene because they're all staged right there. They're all looking at each other. They're all sizing each other up. They're all mistrusting each other at that point. No one really knows what the extent of this thing is. They just saw their friend and they set him on fire because its hands were mutilated tentacles. Some of my favorite lines is when they first meet it and it's in the dog kennel. What is it? And he's like, whatever it is, it's weird and it's pissed off. Whatever it is. I just love that. You gotta be freaking kidding.
That was a good line.
One of my favorite things is when Childs is putting McCready on the line after he tests the blood of the 22 people that he killed in self-defense. Clark was human, wasn't he? And he goes, that makes you a murderer, doesn't it? And Childs is like just throwing McCready under the bus because his hand was forced in self-defense. But it's just such a sad moment that both of them are human. And at this point, they haven't tested positive for any alien sign yet. You don't know if he's just imagining this, if McCready's just killing everyone. No one trusts him, and you start to question it.
I got 2 more quotes.
Oh, let's hear it.
When he's on the couch, right after they blood tested the last person on the couch, I understand tensions are higher. I can't remember the exact quote, but he's like, I'd rather not be tied to this freaking couch.
Yeah, he's just like, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but if you find the time, I'd like to not spend this whole winter tied to this freaking couch. Lastly, my favorite line is, maybe we'll just warm things up a little bit around here. That's such a great line from Kurt Russell. And he smiles. He's got the flare in his eyes. Like, he just looks so crazy.
I love after the doctor was left alone outside, you see there's a noose hanging in that room. He comes out and he's like, I want to come back. I'm okay. I'm okay. And you're just like, oh no, he's definitely one of them.
No hope for him, man.
That was the one I was going to say.
How long did you guys think he was infected? Me and my roommates, we just watched it and we were trying to figure out how long were they building that spaceship under that house?
I think that one was built while he was tied up. He was taking pieces from the helicopter. It already kind of it's a flying aircraft. Maybe it didn't take that long, but he was there for a few days, I think they said. They tied him up, they left him in there.
Oh, okay.
What does this movie mean? What is the message it's trying to convey? Don't trust anyone? I mean, this is post-COVID-19 pandemic. Who's carrying the thing, the virus? Who can you trust? Who can you not trust? I feel more paranoid now than ever. This movie does not help calm my fears. What's the message?
I wasn't seeing any deeper meaning in this movie.
Just a good movie.
I don't know.
It's
like
just,
you're saying, like,
life is strange.
Trust no one? Is that really the message? No, not really. I don't know. It's better to kill everybody than to let a monster get free.
I think John Carpenter's just a great storyteller. I don't think there's much more than that.
He is a masterful storyteller, for sure. All right, guys, would you recommend this movie? A hard yes, 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 yes. 3 yeses, 2 thumbs up. Go see this movie. Disclaimer, this movie is scary. Like, it genuinely is scary.
No way. It's just suspenseful. I don't think it's scary at all.
I mean...
That's why I think the movie's so good, is that they develop so much suspense, and you don't know what's happening, and yet it's not scary. It's gory and, like, creepy, but I never really felt, like, scared during the film.
I get goosebumps just talking about it. This is one movie, very rarely does this happen. I am psychologically scared because of the subtle things, like you mentioned, Clinton. The creature, its blood, everything can infect you. The overt scary, right? You have the physical manifestations, the horrifying monsters. This movie has both. So many movies are just all psychological, and then the monster is a super disappointment, or it's like psychological, but it is a monster at the end, and the monster does excite you, but it's not in it long enough, right? This movie is both. You literally have the psychological with the overt, scary, literal monster movie. This is like a shot in the dark, and it lands bullseye. It's just unreal. Jordan, would you recommend this movie?
Oh, of course. As long as you're cool with like really intense, gory thrillers, it's really good.
How about you, Clinton? Would you recommend this movie?
Yeah, I definitely would. If there was somebody who like wasn't into gore, then I couldn't recommend it. But short of that, I think anybody would really like the film.
Oh, and if anyone's really sensitive to dogs are part of the villains. Dogs get shot. This is not a kind movie to huskies, I will tell you that. See, this movie already kills dogs and men. I don't think they could put women and children in this. They just couldn't do it. I bet the producers were like, yeah, you have babies being shot in the face. This is not going to happen. Sorry. He's like, but it's a perfect movie. Oh, gosh. We are going to begin our next segment.
Clinton's got to get going.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right.
All right.
No, Jordan, Clinton says it's fine. He doesn't have a bedtime.
I'm having fun. It's all right.
Yeah, dude. He's like, if this is awkward and I'm not having fun, I'm going to dip out early. Peace, y'all. Yeah, I just kept it on the back burner. Love you, Clinton. Thank you for showing up on our podcast. We're playing a game. It's called Build the Perfect Movie. You take the critics' score from 2 horror movies on Rotten Tomatoes, and we're going to try to get as close to 100% without going over. If you go over, you bust. You can either do a really high critically acclaimed movie and then one really crappy movie, or you can go 50-50 on 2 movies. You have different strategies. We're going to start with you, Jordan.
Let's do Event Horizon.
Ooh, that's a fun one. Sam Neill. That's right, and Lawrence Fishburne. I forgot all about this movie. This movie, that's a good horror movie. It's good sci-fi horror. Clinton, horror movie for you.
Do I choose 2 or do I choose 1?
Just choose one, and then you're going to find out the score, and then you can choose the second one.
Okay. A Stranger Calls?
Is that When a Stranger Calls?
It might be When a Stranger Calls. I'm trying to think of a super lame horror film.
There's 3 versions. There's a 1979, 1993, or 2006. Which
2006 is the one I watched.
2006, so the recent one. Okay. Jordan, you did Event Horizon at 27%. Clinton, When a Stranger Calls, 2006, 9%.
Oh, man.
9%. Not a good horror movie.
No, it's terrible. It's so bad.
Clinton, because you have the lower score, I'm going to have you go first. You got 91% to play with here, so you might want to do one of the classics.
Oh, man. A Cabin in the Woods.
Is that the meta one, or is that... Oh, yeah, it's Cabin in the Woods. Okay. Jordan.
Well, what did I get on Event Horizon? Sorry, it cut out my internet.
You got 27%.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Your second horror movie?
Let's do Alien 3.
Alien 3 Resurrection?
Yeah, I'm playing it safe.
Jordan, you had Event Horizon, 27%. Alien 3, 44%. That puts you at 71%.
Yeah.
Clinton, you had When a Stranger Calls, 9%. You had Cabin in the Woods, 92%, my friend. I'm sorry, but you bust by 1%.
Oh, that sucks.
101. You went over, my man.
I still feel pretty good.
So close.
That was close. I'm surprised. 92%. They figured Cabin in the Woods is like a darn near perfect movie.
Yeah, I thought it would get a super high. I was thinking like 85 or something, but I'm surprised.
80s, yeah. I thought you would have had it. Jordan played it safe. Stinker. He wins. Jordan wins. For my over and under acting categories. Okay, Clinton, good luck. Jordan's pretty darn good at this, okay?
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, are you guys ready for the first movie quote? Speed round, so whoever gets this quote, I'm going to over or under act it, or I'm going to do my best impression. It doesn't really matter, but you just have to get the movie quote. First one to say it wins, okay, and gets the point.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We've got 5, so best of 5. Good luck to you, gentlemen. Once upon a time, there was a magical place where it never rained. The end.
Like Trouble in the Royale or whatever?
No.
No. It's the yellow-bellied lizards. What is that called? Holes.
Oh, Jordan got it. Holes. It's the scene with Mr. Serve by John Voight. It's so great. He's just like, boys, gather around. Let me tell you about a
But my daddy owns the lake.
That would have been a better quote from that movie. The duck may swim on the lake, but my daddy owns the lake. Oh my gosh. All right, Jordan, you ready, Clinton?
Ready.
Don't laugh at me.
I don't know what that...
Muppets in space.
Jordan's crushing it right now. I'm so sorry, Clinton.
Are you 3?
This one says, are you 3? But we think that's just a simple grammatical error. Are you there? My cereal just talked to me. It asked if I am here. Or are you there? Are you sure it didn't say you need help? I freaking love that movie, Muppets from Space. Clinton, you're doing really good. Get these next 3 in a row. We should put a handicap on you, Jordan.
I do have a handicap. My internet's crap.
Oh, good. Okay, Clinton, this one's for you, man. You got this. What about our tea? We can not have tea.
Oh, Scott Pilgrim?
Yes! You got it! That's awesome, dude. Scott Pilgrim.
Jordan, you held back.
No, honestly, I didn't know it. If he said any other quote from that movie, I would have guessed it, but not that quote.
I tried to choose the quote with Clinton in mind. That is the truth.
Loser. I hate you.
Okay, I'm worried you might not get this one. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
I don't know. Fight Club? I have no idea.
I don't know. I need more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Oh, Pulp Fiction.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, mother sucker. What did you say?
I said Pulp Fiction.
There it is.
Oh, I've never seen that before. You win.
That's okay. I still want to do my last movie quote. Okay, this is a weird one. My dogs are hungry.
300? He said it like Gerard Butler perfectly.
That's great. No, not Gerard Butler.
Do you have another quote? I'm trying to think.
My dogs are hungry.
Batman? Oh, yeah. That's right, The Dark Knight.
What's that? Jordan, you cut out. What's that? Did we lose Jordan? Clinton, what's the movie? Hurry. Jordan's cut out.
I think I may have heard what he said, so can I steal his answer?
Steal it, because I didn't hear it from him.
Batman?
Yeah, which one?
The one with Mr. Freeze and Batman Forever.
No,
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
Oh.
Jordan wins. I'm so sorry, Clinton.
I didn't know it.
That was so great. You're like, Batman, the one with Freeze?
Mr. Freeze? I don't know.
I
I was trying to yell at my stupid internet.
I know, Jordan, you completely cut out. I couldn't hear you, but yeah. It's the weird mobster at the very beginning with Scarecrow. He comes out, the Batman's around, and my dogs are hungry. I don't know why it's so great. It's just like he's playing it up just a little too much. What a great mobster.
Your accent, Ty, sounded like Al Pacino.
I was trying to be an Italian mob boss. Yeah, so it's supposed to sound like Pacino. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's my best Al Pacino. Guys, that was so much fun. We end every podcast by saying good movies that you have seen lately. Jordan, give us your list.
All right, I made a list really quick. I watched The Fifth Element, which was...
I made a list really quick.
Okay.
Nerd. No.
Okay. All right, so I rewatched The Fifth Element, which is a really good movie. I love it. Nocturnal Animals, Requiem for the Dream, the third time this month because music is unbelievably good. Shutter Island, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is actually a really good movie, Ty. I know when we saw it the first time in theaters when we were young, we cried because...
Wait, yeah, let me preface this. Okay, we did not cry because it was a good movie. I did not cry because it was emotional. I cried because for the first time in my life, I paid my own allowance money to go see a movie on a Saturday, and I cried because I spent money to go see this movie. So I lost my money, and I spent an hour of my Saturday watching a movie that I ultimately hated. That was the first disappointment I'd ever had in a movie theater. I didn't think you go to the movies and be maybe if I saw it as an adult, I just can't do it. I cried, man. I can't believe you would betray me, Jordan, and go back and watch that film.
It's actually really good. I know as a kid.
I hate you!
And then I watched the National Lampoon documentary about, it's called like Drunk, Brilliant, Stoned, and Dead. And it's just a really interesting documentary. Not as good as A Futile and Stupid Gesture. Anyways, and that one's on Netflix.
I loved Futile and Stupid Gesture. That was a good one. So why would I watch the other crappy version? Well, while you were watching a documentary about someone that's not very important, I was watching a documentary that was of someone that was very important. I just watched the Spielberg documentary HBO did. It was really good. That guy's got demons, and he reflected it in his films, and it was awesome. Spielberg, great documentary.
All right. Well, there was one funny part I have to quote, though, from this National Lampoon movie. They do a recording of a radio show. He's like, I wonder what it would be like if you were stabbed in the eyes with 2 needles. It'd probably be something like this. It's so good.
Oh, man. You're selling me on it. Maybe I need to go back and watch that. Clinton, what have you seen lately? Do you have a list or not?
Just a couple movies come to mind. The Revenant. I feel like anybody that hasn't seen The Revenant has to see The Revenant. Just the whole time you watch it, you feel cold and alone in the woods.
I just want to breathe like this. Just spit while you breathe.
Yeah,
it's fun.
The intensity of it is just so insane. Like, I love that movie.
I just spit all over my computer. Quick question. Would you ever watch it again? See, because I saw it. Great. Now I've seen it. I don't think I'll ever watch that again.
I would watch it, but it would have to be with somebody who hadn't seen it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. I love that movie. So good.
I love that movie.
That's a great movie. Oh, again, another ambiguous ending. Oh, that'd be fun to talk about sometime on this pod.
I watched that Chernobyl documentary you raved about. It's so good. It's so good.
Isn't it amazing? Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I could gush about Chernobyl. I'm going to do a separate podcast. Did you know that the Soviet Union recorded 31 deaths as a result? 31 deaths. Excuse me, you blew up the entire nation and nations all surrounding you, and you had 31 recorded deaths due to the official recorded deaths. Guys, all I'm saying is when a powerful communistic regime gets into control, they can spin the news however they want to, and that movie is a cautionary tale if I ever saw one. Clinton, love that recommendation. I'm so glad you saw it. I can't recommend that enough.
That was like life-changing. That one's so good.
It changed my life. I love it, dude. I love hearing that. Seriously, like I don't even take that lightly. I love that. Boris and Valerie, so good. They're like heroes. They're freaking heroes, man. Just what you do with a crappy situation. Some of my favorite lines. Effectively, we've created the most deadly place on earth. I just can't fathom that. It's over 300,000 Ronkin. You'll be dead within minutes. What? If you stand somewhere. Oh my word, unbelievable. I saw Zombieland, horror comedy. Woody Harrelson's probably best performance. Bill Murray's best cameo ever. Mr. Murray, do you think you'll pull through? No. So good. So freaking good. I watched Pretty in Pink. John Hughes. That movie, romantic comedy. Rich boy, poor girl. Okay, I don't understand the fashion sense because they kept referring to the main chick. What's her name?
Molly Greenwald.
Molly Ringwald. Yes, thank you, Molly. I was like, what is her name? They kept like referring to her outfits, and I was like, she's dressed just as outlandish as everybody else in the film. But then again, I'm not from the 80s. I don't understand how fashion works, but they're all judging her outfits. But everyone's wardrobe was absurd.
My favorite line from that movie is, "That sounds major."
It's like a Frank Sinatra album, and he's like, is this any good? And she's like, white hot. Maybe it's just me, but the movie could use an update. Enjoyed the flick, but John Cryer, he was just a little bit too much for me. He was over the top. Just going for it, really going for it, and it just didn't work for me. Bordering cringeworthy. I feel bad for any John Cryer fans out there. If you want more John Cryer in your film, this is for you, but for me, it was just a little too much.
He's the geeky guy, is that right?
Yeah, he's the one in the record store that likes Molly Ringwald's character. He's like the best friend that wants to marry her, but ultimately, oh, spoiler alert, doesn't end up with her. Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan's season 2, I finished that. That was pretty fun. It kind of hails back to like 24, but less torture. It's good. I watched the Spielberg documentary, which is great. Movies I'm looking forward to. It's the foreign film. I'm going to forget it unless you mention it. It's like The Happiness of Katakura or something like that.
The Happiness of Katakuri? Have you watched that yet?
Oh, yeah.
Katakuri.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I started it and I love it. It reminds me of like those weird movies like Journey to the West, which we need to talk about, Clinton, on this podcast. Journey to the West is a phenomenal, bonkers movie. That's the movie I'm looking forward to.
Wait, Clinton, did you watch Happiness of Katakuri?
I started it, but it was too dark for Alex, so we turned it off, but I want to finish it at some point.
Yeah, it's definitely dark.
It's amazing. Yeah, we have to do that movie on the podcast, and Journey to the West. I agree. I'm looking forward to finishing The Way Back. I started it. Really good movie. I also agree with Chernobyl. I think we should talk about it. It just makes me so glad to live in America. That's all I got to say.
America!
Yeah.
Movies I'm looking forward to. I want to watch Fuka-chan of Fukafu Flats. That looks so funny.
I don't think I've heard that one. No, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I started watching it, and it's so weird and so, like, it's so funny. Have you watched that one, Jordan?
Not yet, but I have it on my bucket list. I saw that and I was like, I need to get my hands on this movie. So yeah, I just bought it.
It's weird. It's like they're in this apartment complex and this guy, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's very Japanese and hilarious so far.
Her name's Knives Chow. She's Chinese. Oh my guys. Oh my goodness. Guys. Oh my guys. That sounded so weird. Guys, this has been a delight. I have thoroughly enjoyed talking about John Carpenter's The Thing. This movie is phenomenal. You guys need to see it. Love talking to Clinton. Clinton, you need to become a regular. You were so much fun. Thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Maybe we'll just talk about getting rid of Cameron off the podcast. I think he was too scared to watch The Thing because he doesn't like horror movies, so maybe we scared him off. We'll just do more movies like these because I would die happy with movies like these. So great.
Happy to be here. This was fun.
We'll definitely have you on a repeat. Yeah, you're the one that showed us Journey to the West, so we'll probably have to have you on, Clinton, when we do that one.
Hidden gem.
This is Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast signing out. Jordan, do you want to tell us where fans can write emails?
At futuremovies@gmail.com.
Still waiting for a first email, I'm sure.
No, we have a fan. I want to shout out. After watching the podcast, he tweeted, "Respect!" after watching Parasite. I thought that was great. Shout out to you, man. You know who you are. Respect! I want to see more texts that say, "Respect!"
Shout out to John. That's the guy who said it.
John, you're our favorite, man. Keep listening to the pod, and maybe we'll get more listeners to write in, "Respect!"
Join us next Friday to talk about Train to Busan.
We're signing off, Future Hidden Movie Gems. This has been a blast. Ty Christensen signing out. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.